Sue me. Sue me. I want subpoena power. I want all of your messages. Please do me a favor today on the Charlie Kirk case. I've been clear. I want all of the smoke from all of you. I don't think you realize how real life this is for me. I went back and listened so hard. I was like, girl, don't care at all. Do not care at all. I'm over it. We're in a new time. It literally is God time, okay? Anything that gets sent to me from a lawyer is now publicized. That's it. Don't care who you are. If you're watching this and you're going, should I scream it and send it to a lawyer? You probably should.
These are the people who worked with Charlie Kirk every day. From Colvett to Boyer to his wife, Erica, Mikey McCoy, Rob McCoy, a pastor who I called on the phone and I asked him, why did you lie about Mikey McCoy being covered with blood? And he hung up on me. And so as these sources are coming to me, I can't just redact the screenshots of these conversations and air them out there because these people know who they're having conversations with. And obviously, they'll know who these people are. And so to protect them, I'm not going to show screenshots of these specific conversations that were being had. But we're being told that Charlie Kirk was going to go ballistic on the Trump administration for sitting on these Epstein files. That would have been a huge problem for Israel. That would have been a huge problem for Trump. He was going to go, quote,
Charlie found something out. That's it, guys. Charlie found something out and it cost him his life. That's the truth. Okay. Charlie knew something. And whatever it is big and it is ugly. And deep down, I think we know what it is. I think we all kind of know what it is beyond the fact that we are being ruled by sadistic criminals. All of us, the whole world, every nation, okay? A gang of demented psychopaths rule over us, and their solution to being caught doing psychopathic things is to murder us. To murder us.
And so as these sources are coming to me, I can't just redact the screenshots of these conversations and air them out there because these people know who they're having conversations with. And obviously, they'll know who these people are. And so to protect them, I'm not going to show screenshots of these specific conversations that were being had. But we're being told that Charlie Kirk was going to go ballistic on the Trump administration for sitting on these Epstein files. That would have been a huge problem for Israel. He was going to go, quote, ballistic. That was the terminology that was being used around TPUSA and the people at the very top. And had Charlie Kirk been able to do that and turn his army of Zoomers and tell them that the president that they thought had their backs is actually very likely a compromised and not just according to Jeffrey Epstein's brother Mark, that would have been the end. That would have been the end of the Republican Party, at least in its current form, if Charlie Kirk would have gone ballistic. And they just couldn't have that. The White House couldn't have that. Members of Congress couldn't have it. And Israel couldn't have it. And Charlie Kirk knew it. Nobody was more outspoken in support of and Zionism than Charlie Kirk until one day he just wasn't.
Yeah, so I can tell you that I view the Charlie Kirk assassination as a military hit. I do not know who called the hit yet, but it's military. There's no question in my mind that it was a military.
Or foreign, or?
Well, I don't view the U.S. military as being controlled by the U.S. I mean, there are a lot of people, we've been globalized for a very long time. I don't know that there's decisions that are made in Ukraine for America. I mean, this is the tentacles of the U.S. military. It's a much broader and longer conversation that needs to be had. I mean, I think since JFK was assassinated, I don't know who's in control of anything, right? Much of what we see in the political realm is just an illusion. We're talking about what's happening in Congress, and decisions are made in boardrooms, in my view. With Charlie, I think that with everything that I have uncovered, there was very clearly a faith infiltration that happened. And I'm putting faith in quotation marks because Charlie would have believed the people that came to him and told him to grow the organization and, to become the boots on the ground for faith, he cared very deeply about his faith. And the characters, the cast of characters and the pastors that are around him, rotten, like very rotten. The McCoys, Rob McCoy, unbelievably rotten. And I've been covering a lot with him. And what it's looking like is that Calvary Chapel has been accused of tons in the past and also accused of hostilely taking over well-meaning faith organizations and ministries, with Rob McCoy at the center of some of these scandals. It's looking to me like Turning Point's apparatus provided an opportunity. Now, who they're actually working for, what they're actually doing, I don't know. But I can tell you it is not about Jesus Christ. This is the thing. Why lie if you have nothing to cover up? That's my common sense here. You only lie because you have something to cover up. No matter what the lie is you only lie because there's something that you're hiding. So if they had all come out right when Charlie died, if Seth Dillon, who pressed Charlie in the Hamptons, was like, oh my gosh, my biggest regret is the last time that I saw Charlie, I was being such a jerk about the Israel. They were so stupid. And this is a reminder that you never know when you're going to see somebody last. It would have been like, oh, okay, nothing to see here. It was like a full court press effort to lie about everything. Josh Hammer, he never blinked on Israel. He was on the text message chain where Charlie said 48 hours before he died that he was done with the pro-Israel cause. Why lie? That's my question. And I don't like the silence from Turning Point employees. I know for a fact one of them, who I'm not going to name, has a text message from Charlie the day before he died saying they are going to kill me.
Wow.
Now, he was not referring to his lobby when he wrote that message.
Yeah.
If you are his friend and you're interested in the truth, why wouldn't you tell the public that? Wouldn't you just come right out to the public and say, hey, I don't know what happened, but like Charlie thought they were going to kill him. I do not like the way Turning Point is behaving. I've made that clear. And nobody is going to emotionally manipulate me and tell me that it's all good now. And to attack Turning Point would be to attack his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie told me years ago that he had, which I shared the messages, he was having a ton of visions and was telling me that Turning Point was going to be the death of him. He knew he was going to die young and strangely knew that I was going to be the only person to defend him. Right. I showed the messages.
Yeah.
I showed the messages.
They tried to say it was fake and you pulled it up and yeah.
We're here now and I'm going to defend him. I'm going to figure out what happened.
And I know you're still investigating and figuring everything out, but if you could kind of give me a quick summary, what do you think transpired in that day? Who do you think is responsible? Maybe a rough timeline. I know you're still filling parts in, but from what you have so far, what do you think? So this is a guess, and this is just like, if I had to guess right now where I'm at, and I think Tyler Robinson's only contribution was that he had his prints on the gun. I know that his prints were not the only prints that were on the gun, which is something that they haven't been honest about. Okay. I would suspect that his only role, DNA on that too and stuff. Yeah, I think Lance Twiggs is much more involved. I don't think he took the shot either, but I think he's more involved. I think that Tyler Robinson's, all of these people that were involved that day got swept up in stuff. From George Zinn, the guy that cheered, his father's also the guy next. I mean, the whole thing is like, it was an operation with blackmailed people. And the Zinn guy was at 9/11 too. Weird. Yeah. I mean, just unbelievable. And again, more of a marker that this was like a blackmail operation. Also, Zinn told a nurse that he was being paid. He didn't know how he was going to be paid for doing that after. So he was supposed to be another patsy. And yeah, because it was like immediate. Like he got like when this all broke out, he got arrested and he was like, it was out in the news like immediately. Mm-hmm. Multiple people involved that day. One person maybe just supposed to run across the rooftop. Another, I think Tyler Robinson, all his job was to pick up clothes. Mm-hmm. I think literally he didn't set foot on campus that day. And his job was to get rid of the clothes next to the Dairy Queen into some cemetery, which I broke. And the FBI is not disputed, but they decided to monitor the Dairy Queen afterwards and send some feds there. Yeah, so his role was to pick up clothes. I think Lance is actually the one that's walking in the backpack but the TMZ footage? The maroon. Yep, I think that's Lance. Footage, and I don't know who was walking up the stairs. I think that's a whole different person because they don't even look like they have the same body. Okay. And yeah, that's how you do a nice feather operation. You got a bunch of patsies doing different roles. And then it shows the video of the stairway footage either, which is another thing that's strange. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I mean, and I said it before, they've created more questions than answers, right? Which is obviously the problem here. On Monday before, this correspondence went to Chief Long. Hello, Chief Long. We received this message today from the student group. There is a student roof access pretty close to where CK will be set up at the Utah Valley. The Sorensen Center has a couple of staircases that go up to walkways on the roofs. He comes back, and for
for edification, the Sorensen Center was the building in front of the Lucy Center. And so he comes back and he says, you want access to the roof. And came back and said, I was told students have access above us. If this is true, it would be nice to either have it controlled access or allow one of my guys to be there as well, if possible. He comes back and his last correspondence was, I got you covered. What else am I to do? When a command level person from an accredited police department says, I've got this area. Jeez.
Could have followed up because it's your job and Charlie paid you millions of dollars not to pass the buck. No. Also, you asked the police chief an either or question. And I'm just kind of like trying to understand the basic construct of sentences. He said, got you covered. What does that mean? It was an either or question. Either provide us access or get somebody up there. Got you covered means what? No follow up. That's it. Millions and millions of dollars on his security annually. And you just said, hey, a student told us that there's a rooftop and it would be good if we could have access to it or if one of your guys could secure it. Got you covered. That's it. That's what Charlie was paying for. On the basis of that answer, you should all be fired. Just on the basis of that answer, you didn't have it within you to go, let me follow up and make sure that's been secured because that's my job. Let me walk the path and see. The fact that a student told you and you didn't know that, shouldn't you have told the student? You shouldn't you have said to the student, hey, we're looking at a map because it's amazing. It's 2025 and there's this thing called Google Maps. So we're actually looking at a map and we see where Charlie's going to sit and we're wondering about this roof. Could you let us know how we're supposed to access that? Why is the student and the chief leading the charge and not you when you are paid for executive level security? It is an unacceptable answer. Look, I've worked with Brian. Nice guy. That's a ridiculous answer. He should be fired. The only department that we did hear back, well, first let me say I did not at all hear back from the FBI on the American side. I did hear back from the counterterrorism unit. I did hear back from the White House confirming that that message had been delivered on Trump's desk, me saying that I had the information. I guess he didn't want to inquire further, which is interesting. But the FBI left me on red. And I will say I didn't go through an official channel and send an email, and I should do that. But I did send a text message to somebody very high up who received the text message. No response. Now, I thought that the claim of the French Foreign Legion being involved in Charlie's assassination, I thought the FBI might be interested. No phone calls even from Utah's FBI branch have come into me either. Wouldn't you want to see? Aren't we supposed to be investigating the Charlie? If there is anything to know about Kabbalists, it's that the numbers matter deeply to them. Numerology is important. So I say to myself, the numbers of the prisoners, they cannot be random. They are random, but they can't be random. They have to hold some sort of a meaning. They're all over the place, right? Some of them are 3 digits. Some of them are 4 digits. There's no flow. Why would somebody do this? More than anything else, it's just difficult for you. If you're controlling this experiment, it's difficult to keep track of all of these numbers. When you just want to make somebody like 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. And then it hits me. Everything about this experiment is military. These numbers must be military. They must hold military significance. And lo and behold, I'm so ignorant about the military. I didn't know people that are in the Navy. How do you send a letter to someone that is on a military base? What does it mean when you put a zip code and then you have to attach to it a unit number? If you're going to send mail, it corresponds to military bases. And lo and behold, the prisoner numbers just so happen to correspond to 1971 military bases. And I'm going to go through those for you guys right now. Doug Corby's was 8612. That is the number that was assigned for the Naval Weapons Station in Long Beach, California. Incredible. That one took me a while to hack because apparently when it's a medical center, a medical facility, they give them what's known as DMIS numbers. But again, Long Beach, California. We then have Clay Ramsey, 416, correlates to the engineering team in Vietnam, the Naval CB team, 416. I found their yearbook. I'm going through it and I suspect that I'm going to find a familiar face. 1037, I told you that Richard Yakov's father was in the Navy. I told you he was an engineer. That corresponds to the USS Braunstein. The commander was Stanley Thomas Counts, who ran engineering at Hughes Aircraft. Ship hull 1037. Glenn Gee, that 3401 corresponds to the USS Darter. Darter, in 1971, was moved to San Diego in that very year to support 7th Fleet operations. Paul Baran, 5704. That is the Armed Forces of Europe, Canada, the postcode 5074, and the Middle East. Whit Hubble, we've been having trouble finding anything about Whit Hubble, so we are unsure about 7258. Somebody out there will be able to let me know. We have had trouble even establishing who his family is, if he's connected to the Hubble telescope, so we just have nothing but question marks when it comes to Whit Hubble. Stuart Levin, 819. That was the naval post in 1971 in Spain. They sent out the MC4 engineering team. They arrived there in July of 1971. Jim Roney, 4325. That corresponds to the Moffett Camp Pendleton. And am I reading that right? Moffett Federal Airfield? Yeah, Mountain View, California, where the Army Reserve's 7th Psychological Operations Group is based. We also have